President Trump took to his Twitter account earlier, and this is what he said. The Federal Reserve is wrong so often. I see the numbers also and do much better than they do. We will have a very good third quarter, a great fourth quarter, and one of our best ever years in 2021. We will also soon have a vaccine and therapeutic/cure. That's my opinion. Watch. We're joined now by Larry Kudlow, Senior Advisor to the President on Economic Matters from the White House. Larry, you just heard what the President tweeted. You heard what the Fed said yesterday, and if I can paraphrase that, it is that the recovery is not as fast-paced as you say. Join the debate. Where is Jay Powell going wrong?
Well, let me just say that I completely agree with the President. We're going to have a fantastic third quarter and fourth quarter, and going right into 2021 could be a tremendous, tremendous comeback year. I don't know why the market has sold off, whatever it is, 1,000 points. I admit I'm not having that much fun this morning coming on your show. We've had better news. But regarding Jay Powell, okay, I think Chairman Powell has this giving us 0 interest rates for 2 years. That's really quite good. You can't probably get any more dovish than that. The balance sheet's going to rise by about $10 trillion by year end. The M2 money supply is growing by 23% year on year. Now, I do think Mr. Powell could lighten up a little when he has these press offerings. A smile now and then, a little bit of optimism. Okay, I'll talk with him and we'll have some media training at some point. But basically, I don't see the Fed as an obstacle here. And the unemployment claims, again, the initial claims today, right, they fell by 355,000. Continuing claims by 339,000. This, by the way, is the 10th consecutive week that initial claims have fallen. And I do not think the May jobs report, which surprised everybody up 3 million, is a fluke. I think we're going to get more and more green shoots. More and more green shoots.
Okay, but what are you seeing that makes you say, look, this third quarter is going to be pretty strong, a good one, and the fourth quarter just terrific? What are you seeing to make you say that, which Jay Powell is not seeing?
Well, again, I don't know. I don't wish to interpret what he said. He's staying the course. Now, we are seeing a proliferation of green shoots, and that's been an argument that my colleague and friend Kevin Hassett and I have been making for many, many weeks now. Green shoots, housing demand is skyrocketing, automobile demand. The Apple Mobility Index is almost to pre-pandemic levels, showing a lot more traveling. New business applications are soaring. Business openings are soaring. Now, the Chamber of Commerce has that pegged at, I think, 79 or 80%, either partially or completely opened on businesses. And there's a whole litany of other green shoots. So the high-frequency indicators look very good. There's talk in the market today about a second jump in the pandemic. Well, look, I can't go talk to Deborah Birx about that. She doesn't seem to think so. All I'll say is we keep the sheets every single evening. And regarding new cases, the growth of new cases and the growth of new fatalities, Stu, is running between 0 and 1% and has been for many, many weeks. So it's completely flattened out.
But
so
we've got 100,000 new cases in the last week, Larry. I mean, I'm not trying to lighten up on this, but we've got 100,000 new cases in the last week, roughly speaking. And there is a feeling that the more new cases you've got, it slows down the economic recovery and could lead to new crackdowns in some localities if you get a really big spike. That's the concern of the market, I think.
Well, okay, fair enough, Stu. I'm not a medical expert. As I say, I would talk to Ambassador Birx on these things. But look, my 7-day averages, we work a 7-day average for new cases and fatalities. That's also running between 0 and 1%. It has not changed. Now, mind you, we are testing much more. Okay, so that's one point. So you may find a little pickup in cases. Secondly, hospitalizations have increased a bit more, but that's because they're now accepting elective surgeries. You can get your hip replaced. I had mine replaced about a year ago, and that may be confused with COVID. I don't want to downplay the heartbreak or the hardships of new cases. I don't want to go there. I certainly don't want to downplay any fatality at all. I don't want to go there either.
Okay.
I don't want to downplay the unemployment. We have not solved everything, but I do want to say, with this market this morning, that the trends are pointing upward, and therefore I will defend the president's optimism. I think you got 20% growth in the third and fourth quarters, and I think you'll get 4% or better in 2021. And I do think, as we come up to the congressional talks, it's necessary that we build in as many economic growth incentives for the future as we possibly can, so we can get back to where we were last winter.
Larry, that's for the future. That's after the election. That's into next year. What about a new stimulus program now that puts money into people's pockets now? Do you see the need for that?
That's what I'm referring to. We're looking at a lot of options right now. I'm not going to negotiate with you, with all respect. We're looking at a lot of options, okay? I think, you know, when you diagnose this patient correctly, the Paycheck Protection Program, which was put in to solve the problem of the pandemic shut-in, the mitigation shut-in, and the business closing. And the PPP program, which still has some ammunition left, was a tremendous, tremendous thing and is leading directly to the improvement in jobs that we saw for May reported last Friday. Okay? I think that's the key point. Now, other areas, there'll be some unemployment reforms. We'll take a look at tax rebates. We'll take a look at capital gains. We'll take a look at the payroll tax. We'll take a look at deductions for restaurants, entertainment, baseball games, tourism. These are all things the president has talked about publicly, and we're sorting through them. And we're always talking, not formally, but we're always talking to the leaders of the House and Senate, and we will come up with a package that has to be pro-growth. I mean, things you do now, Stu, things you do now, you have to look to the future. It's not like next week. Economic policy takes a while to kick in, and I want the messaging to be loud and clear that we will continue to cut taxes and regulations with reciprocal and fair trade deals for better exports and jobs and growth. You have to keep messaging that, and that is what the president has been doing. So I know today's a rough day, but I don't think today is the last word. And by the way, we're still 40% above the March 23rd low.
Okay. Larry Kudlow, it always is a pleasure. And again, thank you very much for being with us today. Larry Kudlow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sure. Thanks.